Hey everyone, 2018 here. Well, I'm not 2018, but it is 2018. I'm James. I'm here to do another book tag video with the big black book of book tags. I did buy a pen. Unfortunately, Curtis from Curtis Books and Film, he didn't manage to get a Kickstarter going, so I had to shell out of my own minimal funds to buy a biro, which was fine. So this is the big black book of book tags, and today we're going to be doing the no disclaimer book tag by Catalyst Reads. He didn't do like a preamble to his video explaining what it's about, but essentially it's a unpopular opinions sort of thing, but when basically there's no disclaimer in front of it, I think, is how it works. Anyway, here's the questions. Question 1, which tropes annoy you the most? Okay, so I've got a couple here because there have been a few tropes that have been pissing me off. The first of all is the mysterious bad boy trope, which is always found in YA fiction. Specifically in this case it was in aftercare instructions. This is a trope where a complete sleazy piece of shit guy comes along and he's a rude, obnoxious, like prick guy, but he's mysterious, so the naive protagonist loves him forever, I think, is how it works, and that annoys me because it's promoting bad relationships, and then leading into from that is what I've called, as I think it's a trope that I've just made up. There's probably a better name for it, but I've called it forever love at age 15. This is the trope, also from YA fiction, where people who are in high school or are fighting vampires with angel blood or something, they will go out, meet a mysterious bad boy or something, and be in love with them forever, and that's their partner for life. You find your romantic interest at age 15, and it's forever love, and let no one tell you otherwise. That's real, true forever love. See also Fault in Our Stars. See also what was that other book? Oh, All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This is all forever love. There's no other love other than when you're 15. So if you're not 15 and you're single, you've wasted your fucking life, and that's it. It's over for you now. There's no love left in the world for you, sir. And the last one is the big hero sacrifice moment, which has been around forever, but has only really recently started to wind me up, because you get this big hero sacrifice and you just think, well, that was pointless, wasn't it? Why did you do that? There's just so many other ways you could have resolved this issue, and instead of that, now you're dead. So I don't know, it's one of those things where I read now about a big heroic sacrifice, and unless it's really well done and justified, like there's no point. Why did you bother? Why did you do that? Totally pointless. And it's especially annoying when it's like a really important character that takes the place of like some pleb no-name character. If there's like 3 dozen extras traveling in a group where the heroes are, the hero will be the one to do the sacrifice, even though all you needed to do was have someone push a button or something, and like any old dickhead could have done that. You didn't need to be dead. See the film Rogue One for every character in the film doing this. Number 2. We're still halfway, like 4 minutes in. We're on question 2. Question 2. Which writers do you feel are overrated or overhyped? There's only one answer for this. The answer is John Green. John Green, guys. His books are not very good. Like, if you have read one John Green book, you've essentially read all of the John Green books, because the theme of all John Green books, from what I can tell, I've only read one personally, but but I know the plot and the happenings of others. The theme of John Green books is you don't know anything about other people, so you shouldn't romanticize them before you get to know them. That is the theme of all of his books. And I don't need to ever read that story again. I get it. I don't need to hear it told in 500 pages sort of every couple of years, John. Maybe try something new. So question 3. What are your least favourite books you've read since joining BookTube? There's only one answer for this. It's probably the worst book ever written by a human being. And that's Angel Fall by Susan E. This is a book that on the cover boasts about having like 6 bajillion 5-star Goodreads ratings. Which is already a bad sign because Goodreads, if you've looked at it for any length of time, you'll notice that the majority of reviews on there are just animated GIFs of people going or something like that, rather than any sort of thoughts. So a 5-star read on reviews on Goodreads is not a huge thing to boast about, first of all, but then it's just about like angel hunks that like they flap about, and I've heard people saying, oh, it's like well researched with the Bible, but it's not really, because in the Bible angels aren't like hunks that have bird wings, and like in the book, like all the angels are described like they're just bird people, like they're not angelic at all. They're just hunks that have bird wings and hollow bones. They have hollow fucking leg bones so they can fly like birds. That's that's terrible. I'm getting into hot pterodactyl boyfriend laughter here, and it's really bad. The main character is like this really generic, super plain but super sexy, for some reason took 6 million martial arts lessons, apparently to fight off her schizophrenic mum, who is treated as a source of comic relief throughout the story, because it's really funny to have a serious mental disorder that makes you homicidal towards your infant children. That's actually really funny and a good source of comic relief, and it's not distasteful in any way. Angel Fall is the worst book I've ever read in my whole life. Number 4, a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise good book. This was a tricky one because I don't think, when I'm reading a book, I've just sort of decided if it's going to be good or not before I get to the end, and the end hasn't ever really ruined it completely. The ending that sort of tipped me over the edge into saying, yeah, I didn't really enjoy this book that much, was American Gods by Neil Gaiman. The whole book led up to this ending, and I wasn't really enjoying the book all the way along because of other reasons that I went into in my review of that, so go and check that out if you want. But the ending just sort of cemented how much of a waste of time the whole thing was. And it's not a short book, so it did kind of irritate me, and that's the answer for this question. Number 5? Yeah, number 5. Which fictional character do you wish had not been killed off? The only thing I could really think of for this was Tywin Lannister. I think killing him off was appropriate at the point when he was killed off, but since then, a lot of the political scheming in Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire hasn't been as high caliber as when he was there. I think he added a lot to the bad guys in terms of a shade of grey that I think was lost since he was killed off. So yeah, bring him back if you want, I guess. What are some of your bookish pet peeves? This is question number 6. I've got 3 of these. Number 1, introductions to the text that spoil the plot of the book. This is the case for most classics that you will find. If you're reading a book and it has introduction in it, don't read that like before you've read the book, because most of the time what it isn't like an introduction to the book like a prologue would be. It's an introduction to the study of the book, kind of, if you get what I mean. Like, it will explain to you some of the themes and the impact that it's had, but a lot of the time it will talk about how, like, for example, in Picture of Dorian Gray, like, it has one, and it's like, oh, in this book the guy goes mad and kills his mate, and you're like, whoa, 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 hold up, wheel it back. Didn't need to know that before I'd read the book. After I'd read the book, that would have been fine, but not before. I think, personally, introductions that are like that should be put at the end of a book. But that's just me. I guess you can't really call it an introduction if it's at the end, but whatever. Number 2 is shit prologues. I don't mind a prologue if it is going to serve a purpose, if it's going to give a hint of things to come when the initial part of the main story is not quite up to the level of it is in the prologue. A good example is in The Wheel of Time. The prologue deals with all this crazy magic and dark forces and all that, and then like the next 100 pages is a bloke pottering about in a village. And I appreciate I'm going to get back to magic and dark forces because it was there in the prologue. But I think if had the prologue not been there in that case, then the text would have been weaker, and I wouldn't have got there. But where prologues fall down is where you just put one in to be like, 3,000 years ago, this happened. The worst prologue is probably in Lord of the Rings, because it's just a chat about Hobbit genealogy. Great, yeah, really fun. Fun, exciting times. That's definitely what the book's about, is Hobbit genealogy. Like, I get it, Tolkien, like, I get it. I get what you wanted to do, but maybe don't put that as a prologue. Number 3 is padding. When you pad your story to make it really long when it doesn't need to be. Example of this, again, American Gods. There's a point about halfway through the book where it just stops dead, does this massive long side story for about 150 pages before getting back to the main plot. And then it's not really ever brought up again, apart from in a random epilogue, which didn't need to exist had it not been for the need to tie up this story. Which to me makes the entire, like, it makes about 200 pages of an already 700 page book completely fucking pointless, and you could have just had a 500 page book. I don't know why Neil Gaiman felt the need to pad this out in the way that he did, and then he wrote a fucking novella and put that in the end of it as well. Like, what are you doing, Neil? Like, you don't need to do this. It's not necessary, and it was boring as fuck. Right, number 7. This is number 7, yeah. What are some books that you feel deserve more recognition? I think books that deserve a little bit more recognition are all of the works of Emily St. John Mandel, aside from Station 11. Station 11 is a book that came out, I think, in 2015, that got loads of hype, and is still being read and talked about on BookTube since. And people seem to unanimously really like it, but didn't then go back to read the books that she'd written before, which I have done, and I think most of them were as good, if not better, than Station 11, and I think that deserves a bit more credit and exposure. So there you go. The books on that list are Last Night in Montreal, The Singer's Gun, and The Lola Quartet, which are all pretty good and available readily to you, so no excuse not to go and read those. What are your thoughts on censorship and banning of books? This is question number 8. This is a pretty heavy topic, I suppose. Generally, I'm not for the banning of books because I think all ideas are valuable ideas, and you can learn a lot about the people that wrote the books or why they think the way they do just from reading them. But then I guess the question is, should they be banned in schools? And I can understand why you would ban certain books in schools, especially more controversial books, like say Mein Kampf, just to go for the fucking Hitler example, right? So you put Mein Kampf in schools, some kid can read it, and then like if he's not sort of wise enough to think critically about the book that he's reading, and he just takes it and he's like, oh yeah, this is good, then you know that's troubling. I think there's a certain point where when you're really young, certain books should be sort of held back from you until you can either be given a proper context for what you're reading. Like if you're going to be reading certain books, I think it needs to be done in a constructed, guided way to make sure you're understanding the context behind these books, and can talk to someone about it if it's something that is challenging or controversial. We shouldn't just throw like fucking The Fountainhead at our kids and be like, here you go, let this be your new ideology. You need to sort of be able to more critically understand these things. Number 9, this is the easiest question. Who do you tag? I'm going to tag 3 people. First of all is Bookie Laura. Second is Kelly from Let Me Take a Shelfie. And the third will be Mindy from Mindy's Book Journey. So feel free to do this one, and hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video soon. See you later.